phambili. Phambili nge-KZN phambili. Phambili ngoKhahlamba Local Municipality phambili. Siyabonga. Dumela. Nalahleka ke abantu bala. Program Director, Minister of Arts and Culture, Minister Nathi Mthethwa, Minister bethu abakhona namhlanje, ngibone Minister naledi Phando, nama Deputy Ministers, uhulumeni wethu abakhona, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Baba uSihle Zikalala, ama MEC sasebenza naye, uhulumeni wethu walapha KZN, members of the national and provincial legislatures, Nkosi Sithole, isihlalo se-district ye-traditional leaders yethu lapha, Nkosi uHlongwane and namanye amakhosi, religious leaders who are amongst us, and leaders of various political parties, trade unions and civil society formations, District Mayor Baba Mazibuko and local Mayor Baba Dlangisa, no Mayor owe Metro yethu eThekwini uBaba Kaunda oze la ukuzofunda ukuthi umasipala uqhutshwa njani. Uze kahle ngoba usase umeya omusha sofa ukuthi afunde ukuthi la kuqhutshwa kanjani. Fellow South Africans and all honored guests, it is indeed my privilege to be here in Bergville, where we are marking our National Day of Reconciliation, where we have set aside time to celebrate how far we have come in restoring the broken bonds of the past and in building a united nation. A special greeting to the people of this place that is so rich in history. This place has a rich history because in the late 1880s to the South African War of 1899, when a small fort was built here, this area has been witness to a past of both turbulence and progress. Bergville is also the gateway to the uKhahlamba Drakensberg Park, where our forebears, the sun, made their rock art at this place, which is now regarded as a World Heritage Site, which in many ways gives us a glimpse into the lives of our ancestors who lived here thousands and thousands of years ago. The design of our national coat of arms pays homage to our Khoisan forebears, and every time it is displayed, we are reminded of the deep and enduring links between us and our ancient past. This is a place of immense beauty, lying at the foot of the majestic Drakensberg Mountains. But like many parts of this province, it has been in the grip of drought. So we are all immensely pleased that last week the heavens opened to give us some relief and to give Bergville some relief in the form of rain. As we celebrate the coming of the rains, today is, however, a day of celebration. A celebration of the triumph of reconciliation over retribution, of goodwill over animosity, and of fellowship over hatred. As a people, we have overcome a bitter past and stand here today to proclaim to ourselves black and white, because being able to have the strength and the commitment to resolve the bitterness of the past is clearly a mark of a great people. And it is for this reason that we regard ourselves as a great people as South Africans, because in many ways we have done what many other countries have not been able to do, to overcome our differences and to chart a way to the future. Many people around the world thought and felt that our problems that emanated from colonialism and apartheid oppression were intractable, and they thought that South Africa would descend in a civil war or a racial war that would never end. But we've been able to surprise the whole world by resolving our problems, and today we are living testimony of having done precisely that. So we are a great people, because a great people are those that have the resolve and the commitment to resolve their own problems that emanate from the past, and we have done that. This day of the year was proclaimed as the Day of the Vow by our apartheid rulers to remember the fierce battle of 1838 at the Ngome River between the Voortrekkers and the Zulu warriors under the leadership of His Majesty King Dingane. In that historic battle, brave Zulu warriors with assegais succumbed in large numbers to the firepower of the Voortrekkers. And it is said the Ngome River ran red with the blood of those freedom fighters, for they were freedom fighters, because they were fighting for the freedom of our land, and they sacrificed immensely fighting against invaders. Also marks the day in 1961 on which Umkhonto weSizwe, the military wing of the African National Congress, was formed to resist the savagery of apartheid dispossession and oppression. When we attained our democracy in 1994, we took a very clear and conscious decision that the 16th of December would be a day on which we commemorate both these historical events, one that took place in 1838 and the other that took place in 1961, and that in doing so, we would seek to reconcile our nation. That once symbolized the domination of one group over another is now the occasion to celebrate the pact we made to start a clean slate, to strive towards realizing a society founded on reconciliation, non-racialism, non-sexism, equality, peace, justice, and democracy. This is the society that the people of this country envisioned nearly 65 years ago in Kliptown and Gauteng when they drafted the Freedom Charter. And that is when they said, we, the people of South Africa, declare to all our country and to the world to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. They continue to say that our people have been robbed of their birthright to land, economic liberty and peace by a form of government that was founded on injustice and inequality. That our country will never be prosperous or free until all our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunities. This vision of a nation reconciled is also embedded in our democratic constitution. As we gathered to adopt a new fundamental law for our free land, we said in the preamble of our constitution that reconciliation is about recognizing the injustices of our past and working together to correct them. Reconciliation, therefore, is about acknowledging that even though we are diverse, with different histories and experiences, with different languages and cultures, we are united. Today, as we gather here in Bergville to celebrate this day, we must affirm the principles which guide us as we work towards reconciliation, peace, and unity. We must affirm that indeed we cannot achieve reconciliation unless we first recognize the injustices of our past, unless we are forthright and honest about the suffering that the people of this country have had to endure. On this day of reconciliation, all of us as South Africans are therefore called upon to reflect on where we have come from, on the injustices that the majority of our people have suffered, but also on the injustices that they continue to suffer. As a country, it is important that we recognize the devastating effect of domination by colonial and apartheid rulers. It is important that we recall how the indigenous African people were forced off their land, denied even the most basic of rights, how families were torn apart by the migrant labor system. It is important that we should listen to the ordinary people even of this area who continue to recall how their land was taken away and how today they continue to be destitute without any land where their cattle can graze. Kubalulekile ukuthi ngalolu suku sikwazi ukuthi sikhumbule ukuthi umhlaba wokhokho bethu wathathwa kanjani, nokuthi abantu balapha eBergville kuze kube namhlanje abanawo umhlaba, abakwazi ukuthi balime ngendlela bebethanda ukulima ngayo, inkomo zabo azinayo indawo lapho zingahlala khona. Kubalulekile ukuthi ngalolu suku lwe-reconciliation, yebo, sikwazi ukuthi sikhumbule zonke lezo zinto, sithole indlela esingakwazi ukulungisa lokho okumosheke ngakhona. Reconciliation is about honoring those who suffered for injustice and freedom. We should recall how enduring dispossession, racism and poverty, how African people also resisted attempts to turn them into aliens in the land of their birth. We should recall how Africans, coloreds, and Indian South Africans, together with white Democrats, fought a brave and protracted struggle for freedom. We should recall the sacrifices that so many of our people made, suffering imprisonment, exile, burnings, torture, deprivation, and even death, so that we can today call ourselves a democracy. We do so not only to honor their memories, but also so we should never forget the price that was paid in human suffering terms for the achievement of a free South Africa. Reconciliation is about acknowledging that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our democracy, in our diversity. It makes us all equal citizens of this country with equal claim to being South Africans. This means that this country belongs to the descendants of those who came to these shores just a few generations ago in the same measure as it belongs to those whose ancestors have lived here for centuries. If all the people in this country, black and white, can call this place home, then it is essential that all its people must share equally in the land, the resources, and the wealth and the opportunity in South Africa. Reconciliation is therefore also about healing the wounds of the past to ensure that there is prosperity by restoring the land and the wealth of our nation to all people, realizing the rights of all South Africans to dignity, to security, and to comfort. So that unless we move with speed to address the unresolved business of nation building, true reconciliation and unity will be difficult to achieve. This is clearly demonstrated on an issue such as the access and ownership of land. Right here in Bergville is a stark example of the necessity of transforming patterns of land ownership for the benefit of our people. This town is the center of dairy and cattle ranching and plays an important role in the economy of the province and the country. But skewed patterns of racial ownership of land have played out here for centuries, where communities and subsistence farmers were removed from their ancestral land to make way for white-owned commercial farms. The story of dispossession is indeed a painful one, and in many ways mirrors the lived experiences of millions of our people across this country. It is the priority of this government to accelerate the process of land reform, and in doing so, We will be guided by the decisions of our Parliament, which is currently debating and discussing the land issue. We will also be guided by the recommendations of the Presidential Advisory Panel on Land Reform. It is important that at the same time, we should continue with the restitution process and with freeing up state-owned land for farming and for the building of houses for our people. Now, in this area, we call upon private landowners, as we do to all other landowners across the land. We call upon commercial farmers and the private sector to take proactive steps to accelerate the land reform process by working with government so that we can ensure that those without land do get land. Because we are resolved as a government that the land shall be returned to the people of our country. Land shall be restored to the people of our country that was taken away from them. And this will happen. For we cannot have true reconciliation without addressing the issue of land. I'd like to make it clear that if we do indeed want true reconciliation, which we are celebrating and commemorating today, we do need to address the injustices of the past. And the land question is one of those injustices that must be addressed. Whether we like it or not, it must happen here in South Africa in our lifetime. The other important issue as well in this area is the question of water. It cannot be that the dams in this area here do not reticulate water here, but reticulate water for the people in Gauteng. Reconciliation must also mean that the people of this area also do get water from the dams in this area as well. Now, to address the challenges our people face in this Utugela district, I have said to the Premier and the district mayor and the mayor that we are going to come back to launch the district development model here in Utugela district. Sifuna ukwenza njalo ukuthi sibuye la sizokwazi ukuqonda kahle ukuthi le inkinga ezikhona lapha eziphathe umphakathi singazixazulula kanjani na. Kufanele ukuthi sibuye sihamba nale district development model, le ndlela entsha esisebenza ngayo ezosenza ukuthi siphenye yonke into eyenzeka la. Kodwa ke sizawuthi masibuya, we will be starting from a very good foundation. Omasipala bethu lapha, kakhulu umasipala wethu lapha eBergville, awu ngempela ireport engiyitholile iyangibonisa ngempela ukuthi umasipala oqonde kahle futhi usebenza kahle. Akulula ukuthi uthole umasipala one clean audit iminyaka eminingi ukufana nalo masipala walapha. Siyamnqoma ke umasipala walapha. Sizawubuya ke sizosebenza no district mayor no local municipality mayors bethu balapha ukuthi sibone ukuthi inkinga ezikhona lapha eziphathe umphakathi singazixazulula kanjani. Reconciliation requires that we end inequality in all its forms, not only in access to land, in access to education and skills, to employment, to housing, to healthcare and basic services. It is this goal of improving the lives of the poor and marginalized that stands at the center of the programs of this government, and to which we must mobilize our collective efforts. Reconciliation is not only about race, it is also about effecting reconciliation on matters that affect the human condition. It is also about bridging the divide between men and women. This means that the empowerment of women and the achievement of gender equality is one of our most important tasks. Reconciliation means that we need to work with greater effort and urgency to end the scourge of gender-based violence. We cannot be a strong nation if we continue to abuse the women and the children of our country and continue to be intolerant towards members of the LGBTIQ+ community. We must impart the value of respect to our young so that boys and young men learn to respect women and girls. We must speak out against violence whenever we see it, whether it involves our brothers, our uncles, our sons, or our friends. We must say enough is enough. Lesi sifo sesisikhulu kakhulu. It has spread throughout the country, and we cannot have reconciliation for as long as on a daily basis we hear about the raping of women and young girls, we hear about the killing of women in our country. It is enough, and it must come to an end. Reconciliation cannot be based on pious words, but it must be based on all South Africans reaching out to one another, to support one another, as we build a nation free of racism, exploitation, and oppression. We see evidence of national reconciliation in ordinary stories that are shared by our people, including on social media. They are stories of coexistence, of friendship, of camaraderie, but also of compassion and empathy. We hear stories of a white man engaging in lobola negotiations on behalf of an adopted black daughter. We hear stories of an Afrikaans-speaking toddler in a Springbok jersey, fluently rendering the national anthem with his eyes closed. We hear stories of interracial couples and adoptions and blended families, of neighbors of different races helping each other, and of domestic workers graduating at university because their employers supported their dreams. This is unity that is happening. It is not superficial, but it is unity that is unfolding in our nation. These stories show that although we have a long way to go to become a truly united nation, we have indeed become a truly united and reconciling nation And day by day, little by little, we are breaking the barriers of race and class that were put in place by our past apartheid rulers to divide us. Reconciliation must mean that South Africans must reach out to one another through language, through cultural appreciation, through sports, through the activities of daily life. Although there may be pockets of intolerance that we find in a number of places and in our experiences, where there's evidence of intolerance amongst us as South Africans, we do, however, remain a people prepared to see each other as equals. We witnessed this clearly with the outpouring of joy when the Springboks won the Rugby World Cup in Japan last month, and when our own Zozibini Tunzi was crowned Miss Universe last week. We saw South Africans of all races take to the streets, proudly waving the national flag and proclaiming their pride in their country, just as we saw earlier when we came in, when many people seated here were waving the flag, except for the VIPs who are sitting here in front. We also saw how our choir was blowing kisses to everyone here and saying, "We love you," and how that overjoyed many of the people, including the women who are here in the audience. We need only look around us to see how far we have come. For the first time, our national rugby team is captained by a black young man, Usiya Kolisi. This is the first time it has ever happened. Our most famous athlete is a black woman, Mokgadi Caster-Semenya. And our most famous swimmer is Chad Leclerc, who is a white person. Now, we see this in our schools, and white children learn and play side by side, something that was forbidden and that was even illegal in the past. And when the newspapers carry stories of top-performing matriculants, they are now African, white, Indian, and colored top-performing matriculants. In the past, the front pages of our newspapers only used to have white young people as top-performing matriculants. Today, that has now changed. We see it in our universities that are becoming ever more inclusive, where students graduate in traditional attire and their families break out into ululation and dance right at the graduation ceremonies. We see how our families become overjoyed as their children graduate, and thus showing that our universities are becoming more and more mixed and inclusive. We see it in our parliament, where young and old, black and white represent the interests of their communities and give voice to their concerns. We see it on our television screens, where programming reflects the diversity of cultures of this country, but most especially the diversity of language. Let us not see language as a barrier to coexistence, but as a means to reach out to those with different cultures. Let us make an effort to learn each other's languages and to teach our own to others. Kufanele ukuthi sifunde ukuthi izilimi zabantu abanye sikwazi ukuzikhuluma. Sithole ukuthi yebo umuntu okhule ekhuluma isiZulu uzozama ukuthi afunde nesisuthu, afunde nesipedi, afunde nesivenda. Ukuthi okhuluma isivenda njengami nje azifundise isiZulu, azifundise nesiXhosa, azifundise nezinye ilimi. We will not allow the prophets of doom to tell us that we are worse off than before 1994, or that race relations have deteriorated in our country. We have reached across the divide and embraced each other, and in this month and every month we must continue to do so. Despite our backgrounds, despite our cultures, as well as beliefs and political affiliations, we are indeed one nation. In commemorating the 25 years of democracy and in line with established international practice, I have decided, in terms of the Constitution, to grant a special remission of sentence to specific categories of sentenced offenders, probationers, and parolees. Remissions of sentences are always carefully considered, taking into account the interests of the public and the administration of justice. We recognize that incarceration has followed a judicial process, and that sentences have been duly imposed on those who were found guilty of certain crimes after conviction. There have been previous remissions of this nature granted to coincide with important national days. These include President Nelson Mandela's inauguration on the 10th of May 1994. They also include the first anniversary of our freedom on the 27th of April in 1995. It also includes the Madiba's 80th birthday on July 18 in 1998. It also includes the first year of President Mbeki's second term of office on 30th May in 2005, and in celebration of 18 years of freedom on the 27th of April in 2012. This decision of giving remission to those who are in prison and those who are on probation will be implemented in various phases, starting with special categories, including women, children, the elderly, the youth, and inmates with disabilities. The Minister of Justice and Correctional Services will provide the relevant details and specific circumstances with regard to the remission and the release of those prisoners and relevant offenders. It must be emphasized that this remission of sentences excludes those who are sentenced for sexual offenses, for violent, aggressive offenses, as well as people who are declared dangerous criminals in terms of Section 286A of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977. So those who have been sentenced for sexual offenses, rape and murder of women are not affected by this announcement that I am making. Compatriots and friends, in striving to build a strong and united nation, we will not forget our past, nor seek to diminish its impact. It lives with us today still. But as the famous son of this province, Alan Paton, once said, it is not forgive and forget, as if nothing wrong had ever happened, but forgive and go forward. It is about building on the mistakes of the past and the energy generated by reconciliation to create a new future. We look to this new future with hope. We are all products of our past, but let it not be that our past should hold us down and keep us as its prisoners.